So it's spring and everything's warming up and it's getting pretty exciting. We've still got hope in the air. We haven't had any bad freezes yet. But that's the question, right? Am I going to get any fruit this year? I believe I've referred to it before, or if you know me, you know that last year we really didn't get a lot of fruit. It was in early May, about May 8th, it got down to 25 degrees outside. And that's just brutal for fruit trees that late into the season here. Typically, about April 25th, 29th or so, that's kind of the range we're looking at for when we're going to get our last frost. Tonight, it's going to get down to 28 degrees, and then the following night we'll get down to 23 degrees. And that's pushing it. Because of how warm this spring has been, we are already seeing buds that are more than swollen. Some of them already getting to where you can see some color that's coming out from where we're going to get some flowers. As these buds open up, as they develop flowers, each stage of that process, they're going to lose a little bit more of that hardiness. So let's go around, talk about a couple different types of fruit, and take a look at those buds. And I think it'll help you gauge just how well your fruit trees might do this year as well. And for the temperatures that I'll be referencing, those are going to be related to some work done by Washington State University. Those are not my numbers. Starting here with some apples, right here we have what's called silver tip. If you're at this stage, and if it gets down to 15 degrees, you might start to lose about 10% of your crop. That's generally how these numbers go, is you're looking at what's the 10% loss temperature and what's the 90% loss. And actually with silver tip, you'll lose 10% or so at 15 degrees and 90% at 2 degrees. So when we're going to get to 23, this isn't a concern at all. This is called a green tip, and whenever you see this, you can handle about 18 degrees, losing only 10%, and go down to about 10 degrees, and that's where you'll lose that 90%. Where it extends out closer to a half an inch, which this one's getting fairly close to, that's when you're going to get that 10% loss at 23 degrees Fahrenheit and 90% loss at 15. So this right here is just about at that spot where I'd be worried. These three have all been from this same mac-free apple. And so you can even tell with that information, you know, some of these have progressed a lot further than others. How bad is it going to be for me? I don't think I'm going to lose a whole lot, even if it turns out that this one is far enough along that it's going to have some damage. So looking over here at our Gravenstein, I found a tight cluster, and you can tell there's no pink in there. All you see is green. This can handle about 27 degrees, but if we drop to 21, you're only going to have about 10% survive. Now on this tree as well, it's not all like this. So even though this one, which is one of our earliest apples, has this scenario where there are some of them about like this that are probably going to get some damage, overall I still expect that this tree is going to have fruit. I just do expect we will lose some because of this. Taking a look here at our Colette pear, you can see that there's some scale separation there on these buds. That means 15 degrees you'll lose 10%, and about 0 degrees you'll lose 90%. But when the bud is bursting like this one, 20 degrees is when you'll get 10% loss, and 6 degrees is when you'll get 90% loss. But especially some of my Asian pears out here, we've definitely got a lot of these that have had the buds burst, so that 20 degrees is definitely in my mind. Some of these are definitely in the green tight cluster stage, and even moving out of that. If they're in just a tight cluster stage, which would be closer to something like this, 24 degrees is that 10% damage, and 15 degrees is that 90% damage. I don't see any with white buds, but that would put us at about a 25 degrees to start that damage, you know, and then it would move up from there. But I think that's as far along as anything is. Looking at our tart cherry, we've definitely got swollen buds. Swollen buds are okay to about 15 degrees, but once they start bursting, which some of these have, they've just started bursting, 26 degrees is when you get that 10% damage. And then you get about a 90% damage at 22 degrees. So I don't think all of these have burst. They're very close, but you know, somewhat in that early stage of bursting. So I think at least some of our crops should survive, even if we don't have the full crop that this thing could put out. Sweet cherries can handle a little bit more, but mine, at least with these varieties I have, are waking up sooner than the tart cherry. And these tight clusters like this, 26 degrees is when you get that 10% damage, and 17 degrees you'll get that 90% damage. So at least there's a bit of a range there. So, you know, maybe we'll lose 50% or somewhere around that. But again, I don't think we'll get a full loss here. Taking a look at peaches, where you've just got swollen buds, you can handle about 18 degrees. Where we've definitely got this calyx green scenario here, where these are not quite pushing out any red color to those flower buds. So these handle 21 degrees with 10% damage, and all the way down to 5 degrees for that 90% damage. Taking a look at another peach, you can see kind of the pinkish reddish tip on this, and that changes the tolerance just a little bit to 23 degrees for that 10% damage, and 9 degrees for the 90% damage. So there's not a great chance we're going to lose even the 10%, because most of the buds on this tree are not that far along. Here's a slightly better example of that calyx red right here. Looking in the nectarines, they seem to be just slightly further than the peaches, but with peaches and nectarines, they have those same temperatures, same kind of requirements. And this is just coming into that first pink stage here, this one, which 25 degrees is that 10% damage, and 15 degrees is that 90% damage. So it's certainly possible we will lose some of our crop due to that, but again, not so drastically that I think it's going to greatly impact the fruit production when there are plenty of buds that are not quite as far along as that. Now, the first thing to bloom last year for us was our plums. So these are, I guess, what I'm most concerned about. And you can see in the tips of these, the white, that first white, we're going to start seeing damage at 26 degrees, and then 22 degrees will get us that 90% damage. So I am a bit concerned about these, but we have so many buds that even if we get some of these to survive, I think we'll have a crop. Hopefully each of those plums will be a bit larger because they won't have as much competition if some of these do get thinned out from that. And the last tree to check out, and probably the most unfortunate, is our apricot tree. I was really excited about this one, especially because the pits should be such that you can actually eat the seeds out of these. I see a couple of these blooms that are full bloom, but in that first bloom stage, 25 degrees, they'll pull in 10% damage, 19 degrees for that 90% damage. Full bloom, it's 27 to 22 degrees. I think we're in ranges at least that not everything on here is gonna go bad, so we'll just have to wait and see. All right, well, I hope this helps you guys out in thinking through what you might want to prepare for on what fruit crops you're gonna get this year. And I'll catch up with you guys later after we see some fruit set, and we'll take a look at the results and what kind of crops we might be looking at this year. All right, thanks for watching.